Hello everyone, tonight on our program, who cares about debt? Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia seeks to downplay impact of debt crisis on our economy.
Our city exchange rate management has been one of the best for any first-term government since 1992. One of the best.
Does he have a point? We will discuss. Also coming up, importers and exporters at Tema port raise alarm over what they say is unfair treatment by a major shipping line, Maersk.
Was another bill of lading that is consigned to Nigeria. The port of discharge is Tinkana, Papa. That's Nigeria. And they have given that invoice to me to pay. How possible? It's not my consignee. I'm not the consignee.
And from the Tema port, we'll head to the Takoradi port, where the maiden commercial tanker vessel GH Parks has discharged cargo at West Africa's deepest and new ultra-modern liquid bulk terminal. My name is Darryl Kwa. Thanks for being with us tonight. We've got details in a moment. Thanks for staying with us on Business Live tonight. The Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, has downplayed the impact of Ghana's debt crisis on the economy. The country's debt levels have surpassed the dreaded 70% debt to gross domestic product.
City exchange rate management has been one of the best for any first-term government since 1992. One of the best. The performance of the city for 2020 and 2021 have been quite simply superb. The stability of the city so far this year has been the best for the same period after any election year under the Fourth Republic, notwithstanding COVID. I want to let you think about one thing. You hear the NDC say, but the debt level has gone up. Sure, the debt level has gone up, but economic management has not gone down. If you do not manage your debt properly, it will affect your exchange rate, it will affect your interest rates, it will affect your inflation, it will affect your growth. Isn't that the case? You are managing the economy in a way to look at its impact on these variables: exchange rates, interest rates, inflation, and growth rates. That is the issue. When the NDC was in government, well, way before they took us to HIPIC, remember the HIPIC period, they had mismanaged the debt level such that we had very high inflation, very high exchange rate depreciation, very high interest rates, and low growth. That was the legacy they left us.
That was Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. I'm told we lost my audio there. Just to recap what I was trying to tell you, that Vice President downplaying the impact of Ghana's debt crisis on the economy. The country's debt levels have surpassed the dreaded 70% mark, a situation which has compelled the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank to classify Ghana as a highly debt-distressed country. But speaking at a seminar of Tertiary Students Confederacy of the MPP at the University of Cape Coast, Dr. Bawumia said, as you heard, even though the debt levels are high, the economic indicators show that the country is on course and the management of the city has been one of the best in the Fourth Republic. Well, joining me right now is Yaolato, his partner, and financial advisory leader at Deloitte Ghana, to discuss this further. So, yeah, good to have you. The Vice President downplaying our debt situation, saying the economic indicators show the country is on course. So then who cares about our debt situation if the economy is doing well?
Well, so thank you very much, Daryl, and good evening to you and your viewers. I think in principle, what the Vice President said in economic principle makes sense. There are countries that have got high indebtedness, and because of their economic capacity, they are able to absorb or manage their debts and then go through it and get a benefit out of it. But then the question for us is whether those countries that we are comparing ourselves with, the capacities that they have, we do have that capacity, and whether we are also on the right path to a situation where we are going to avoid our debt distress situation completely. There are some risks around us, and those risks, if you don't manage them, our rising debt levels could create problems for us. If you have a situation where a country is classified as a debt distress or potential debt distress, that alone is a trigger where investor confidence is reduced, and then the potential of businesses securing loan facilities at a cheaper rate also becomes almost impossible, because the sovereign cap today, if you are borrowing in, let's say, USD terms outside Ghana, if government of Ghana is borrowing at almost 9%, there is no business I can say that can borrow below the 9%, unless that business can demonstrate, like let's say Cocoa Board, that they have the credit worthiness and their revenue inflows are denominated in dollars. If you are not able to demonstrate that, you are going to borrow as a businessman or as a business entity, you are going to borrow over and above the sovereign cap. That's a key concern. Beyond that, we know that Fitch has rated Ghana from stable to negative. And some of the factors that they raise are still lingering. So one of the points that they mentioned was that the government in power currently does not have a clear majority in parliament. And it's not something that you can wash away in a month or two. It is going to stay till the end of the government term. So a government that does not have a clear majority in parliament also stands a risk of having some of its policies, however good they are, delayed or frustrated in a way. So that's a risk that is lingering. The second point that they Fitch raised in downgrading Ghana, was our low revenue base. Currently, as we speak, we are relying heavily on local taxes or domestic taxes,
right,
because our reliance on import and so are not really fetching us or giving us enough returns. So those risks are there, regardless of the fact that our rising debt levels are manageable. And you can always give government the benefit of the doubt. We have consistently managed a stable local currency. We have consistently managed a rising gross domestic product. So our GDP has been constantly growing until 2020, when it almost got into a recession. But before that, we are growing at 70%. So that's a credit to government. And we have consistently managed our interest rate and inflation rates. So those are credit to government. But there are some risks that need to be managed. And if we do not manage them, you will have challenges going forward.
I sense government tried to shift tone, or and because he was speaking at a political event, I'm sure, that was the politics of our debt crisis and all of that. But how is that dangerous for us if we continue to talk like this? No, don't worry about the debt. The economic indicators are showing that we are doing very well. That's a dangerous position, isn't it?
Yeah, so I think for the politicians or those in the political environment, what they want to know is to hear that regardless of what the opposition is saying, and even our economic partners are saying, there is still some positive news to hear. And for us as, let's say, independent observers, we will speak to the issues objectively. And so today, as we speak, there are challenges with our fiscal consolidation because of COVID. So COVID has created a situation where some unbudgeted expenditure is still coming in, And so things that we budgeted for, once in a while, we are forced to put money aside for that. And then our supply chain challenges. We were expecting to, let's say, increase our revenue from oil by a certain margin because we are expecting output to grow by a certain level. We are not getting that because demand is still not at the levels that we are expecting oil demand to be. Some countries are in their third and fourth wave. So you can't expect those countries to be demanding oil when there's slowdown in economic activities. So those are risks that maybe the economic management team, when they meet in their closet and not at a political event like that, they have to consider critically, because you can't run away from the facts. You can manage the political situation, encourage people to have hope, but in the midst of things, you also have to come and face the facts. The facts, as have been enumerated by Fitch in their rating or downgrading of the country from stable to negative, are obvious facts. That, for instance, the government does not have a clear majority in parliament. That is an obvious fact. The fact that we have high debt levels. We ended last year, 2020, at 76% GDP. During the last mid-year budget review, the Minister of Finance mentioned we are now 77, almost 78%. So we are closer, or we are getting closer to 80%. That is a high debt level, because in 2016, we were around 56, 57%. So as we speak, we are close to 80%. That is an obvious fact that you can't run away from. And so in spite of the fact that we will talk the politics and give hope to Ghanaians, we also have to face the fact and put in the right measures so that we avoid a situation where our debt level is taking the trend that is taking. We have to have a situation where it is taking a nosedive, coming down or trending downwards.
And I guess the fact is also that if you look at our numbers, it's better than some other West African countries, if you like, during this situation of the pandemic. And so it's easy for government to say, well, compared to other countries, we are doing well during this period. And that is a good economic indicator. In fact, we are told that we are one of the fastest growing economies in West Africa during this period. Is that good measurement for assessing economic prudence during this time of the pandemic?
Yeah, so I think the question is, could we have done better?
Yeah.
And the answer is yes, we could have done better. And so in as much as we want to pat ourselves in the back for getting to where we are now, we could have done better. And obviously, if you ask yourself what caused the debt situation that we have in, the last year, government of Ghana, during their budget statement, mentioned three key factors. So the first one being the financial sector cleanup. So the question is, who caused that? It's multiplicity of factors, but obviously, if some aspect of it had been managed well or properly, we wouldn't have incurred the level at which we incurred. The other factor was the COVID situation, something that we know part of it could have been managed, others to beyond us. And then the third point being capacity charges. We trying to eliminate excess capacity in the energy sector. So those three. But if you look at it, our debt level rose from 122 billion in 2016 to 296 billion. So all those three factors made up about 50 or 60 billion. So the rest of our almost about 116 billion. The question is, what caused those debts? Because we are in a situation where we are borrowing to pay off or retiring previous debts. And then we are in a situation where we are adding on to the previous debts. So there are instances where those three factors cannot explain them. And so today, as we speak, we do not know the story behind the 117 billion excess debt or additional debt from 2016 to date. What those were used for, how those utilization of those monies borrowed increased the value of our GDP. If they have increased the value of our GDP, then our debt to GDP ratio should have been reducing. But in this case, it's increasing. So it means that the rate at which our debt is increasing, that is not the same rate at which our GDP is also increasing. And that's a concern.
And we may not feel the impact of our debt crisis now. Just to quote the director of research at the IEA, John Kwashi, saying that, well, it's your children and your children's children that are going to pay the debt going forward. So that's what we should be looking at. But the IEA also called for debt management strategy. I want to ask you about that, plus calls for the country to return to the IMF for some sort of support amid our debt situation. Your thoughts?
Yes. So I think that's a very good point. The fact is, for you to be able to solve the problem, you should ask yourself what is causing the situation. And there are several causes. So one of them being our debt profiling. So we've seen over the last few years, our debt profiling is shifting towards commercial facilities and also reducing our reliance on bilateral and multilateral facilities. That's a key cause for concern. You can have a bilateral facility or a multilateral facility, like from the Korean Exim Bank and so on and so forth, for 3%, some at 1% for 30 years. But today, if you do Eurobond, you do it for 10 years, 15 years, for 9%. So that's 6, 7, or 8 percentage point difference between how much we are borrowing under the bilateral and other concessionary facilities and commercial facility is a key cause for concern. And the obvious facts, like I said, are speaking to us today. Because today, as we speak, our debt service or interest commitment alone make the significant component of our total expenditure as a country. Compared to compensation, historically, compensation was number one. But as we speak, interest rate has displaced compensation. That's a key cause for concern. So our debt profiling is shifting towards more expensive debts and moving away from cheaper sources of financing. So if we do not look at that and then address that problem, and I think the plan that we are going for green bonds or sustainable bonds, it's a step in the right direction, but we should go for green bonds or sustainable bonds that are coming at concessionary rates. If you are still going to borrow green bonds at commercial rates, then that's a cause for concern. And I guess, like we are saying, the future is going to be bleak for us.
All right, partner at Deloitte Ghana, Yaolati there, always grateful to speak with you. Thanks for the insightful perspective you have given us to our debt situation. Grateful. While you're watching Business Live, still to come, importers and exporters at the Tema port raising alarm over delayed shipments. They're accusing a major shipping line, Maersk.
There was another bill of lading that is consigned to Nigeria. The port of discharge is Tinkana, Papa. That's Nigeria. And they have given that invoice to me to pay. How possible? It's not my consignee. I'm not the consignee.
That story coming up after this break. Welcome back. Now, importers and exporters at the Tema port fear Ghana could be losing its business-friendly status as a result of unfair treatment from one of the major shipping lines, Maersk, for some weeks now. According to them, the shipping line has blocked businesses of more than 100 shipping agents, denying them access to clear their goods. Now, the situation has triggered losses due to demurrage and rent charges from the Port Authority. Management of the Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders and the Ghana Shippers Authority have been notified about this development, but all efforts to get it resolved have proven unsuccessful. Here are some affected importers speaking about the adverse effect of the situation.
They block you, the freight forwarder. It means that all other clients, about 10 other clients that you have, that you will be working for, whose goods are coming through Maersk line, can't clear the goods. It also means that at times they even go ahead and even block the importers. And they wait till you even give your goods to an agent in America, for example, goes through the process, they load the container. Now they tell you, hold on, even though we have loaded the container, you can't transport it to Tema for you. Because it's far away in Tema, there is an amount which is standing against your name. Then you are forced to pay. You have instances of some of my clients even decided that, oh, go ahead and pay, and we don't want any problem, because look at the money that you are losing. And in this case, Maersk line is holding them to ransom. It's pure blackmailing.
There was another bill of lading that is consigned to Nigeria. The port of discharge is Tinkana, Papa. That's Nigeria. And they have given that invoice to me to pay.
Well, meanwhile, Joy Business has gathered that the Ghana Shippers Authority is meeting with the Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders and some stakeholders at the port to get the issue resolved. The shipping line in question, Maersk, has also assured Joy Business that a team is working around the clock to resolve the issue as soon as possible. Now, let's turn to the Takoradi port, where the maiden commercial tanker vessel GH Parks has arrived to discharge cargo at West Africa's deepest and new ultra-modern liquid bulk terminal. Now, this cargo operation signals a formal commencement of operations of the new state-of-the-art terminal. Correspondent Inathalia Kwanzaa has more.
The vessel, which arrived at the port's anchorage, went through screening as well as regulatory sampling and clearance by the National Petroleum Authority. Public Relations Manager for the Takoradi Port, Peter Bediako, says, as part of regulatory requirements and industry best practice, the arrival of the vessel was preceded by the arrival of the lease tanker vessel for technical testing operation.
The new liquid bulk jetty has a capacity of 300 meters with a 14-meter depth. In comparison to the old port, which had a berth length of 120 with a depth of 8.4 on high water, could not have received this vessel. This vessel no way could have gone to the old vessel. Not only does it give us the leverage to handle bigger vessels and bigger volumes, but it also has effect on the revenue of GPHA. So for us, today is a very happy day for us. When it comes to competitiveness, it has to go to the turnaround time.
Branch Manager for Inchap Shipping Services, Chris Donko, lauded the government for putting up the facility and deemed it timely, as it was time that COVID-19 restrictions, which hampered the operation of the port, were being eased.
I must say it's fantastic. It's indeed fantastic and timely. Because, of course, the COVID created a whole lot of issues. So if after, going through all this process and then charters are bringing vessels for vessels to stay longer in port, definitely is going to affect them. So we are so fortunate, BP, they are the time charters of this very vessel. Her last port, of course, is Lome. Let me say here that comparing the old jetty and then the new will serve very, 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 very great purpose.
Deputy Operations Manager of Marshall Oil and Gas Services, Stephen Nana Ando, says his outfit is the terminal's operator and responsible for the safety and operation duties of the facility.
GPHA gave us this concession to build this new facility, which is an improvement on the old one in terms of the data. If I mention details, we are talking about the size of this particular new facility. In terms of the depth, initially, the old site, it was around -7 meters. But here we've improved it into -14 meters.
And that's Business Live tonight. Thanks for watching, everyone. There's more news on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. Thanks for watching.